Show which is here to uncover innovative technologies and trends, to explain how technologies work and how we can apply them in our businesses. My name is Yelena Kanzov-Vandermesh. I'm a producer and host of Inside Tomorrow, and we are live here from the studio of DukascopyTV in Geneva with a very special guest, Patrick Huber. Welcome to Inside Tomorrow.
Thank you very much for having me.
Patrick Huber is known as a business innovator for renewables. He is a chairman of H2 Energy, the company that brought the first ever worldwide fleet of hydrogen trucks here in Switzerland in cooperation with Hyundai Motors.
Yes, that's right. We actually built the first truck ourselves, and we then realized that that was not a sustainable business model for us. So we had to look for a partner which was supporting us on scaling up the concept that we have developed.
How many trucks do you already have on the roads of Switzerland, and how many stations are there to service those hydrogen trucks?
Right now there are 46 trucks on the Swiss roads running on fuel cell and green hydrogen. And we have 8 hydrogen refueling stations being operational in Switzerland. The last one just opened this Monday.
What are in the plans?
The plan is actually, and the agreement is that we're going to have 50 to 100 hydrogen refueling stations by the year of 23, and we're going to have 1,000 trucks planned to have on the road in Switzerland by the year of 23. For 25, we're scheduled to have 1,600 trucks on the Swiss roads.
So that will distribute to the European roads as well?
Yes, that's our goal. As soon as we see the capacity to scale up the business, we're happy to pursue these opportunities, yes.
The fuel cell technology has been available for us for decades. The first car was built by Ford, and the technology has been used in space over 60 years. Why are we coming back to the technology now and start scaling up?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The concept of fuel cells have been actually developed 170 years ago. Jules Verne mentioned it 150 years ago, that it will be the future. And the answer to your question, which is a very central question, is actually twofold. One way to argument is a technological approach. So you could argue that because of the nanotechnology, the technology could be made more stable. The degradation of the fuel cell could be reduced because nanotechnology enabled you to fully understand the process that takes place in the fuel cell. In addition, the content of platinum could be reduced by a factor of 10, which had a strong commercial impact because it's a very expensive precious metal. And the third reason is the scalability, which will have an additional impact on the costs of fuel cell technology. So that's the technical. But what's really the difference today, which I think is the tectonic movement, that's the energy transition. Because the energy transition, and now today over 110 countries have mentioned that they want to be CO2 emission free by the year of 2050, and switching to renewables, and the renewable is going to be accessed in different forms. You don't have renewable available all day long, and so you need to find ways how to store energy and how to redistribute energy. And hydrogen is one of the ways you can do this. And that's why the technology is now in a different state, mainly driven by the energy transition that we are experiencing today.
So is there cost efficiency that we have reached now, or we're still in the, how can I say, on the investment, heavy investment in the technology to explore it and finally scale up to make it cost efficient?
Yeah, so that's always going to be our main challenge, to make it to achieve cost parity to traditional fuels. But I want to point out one thing. When we talk about costs, we always consider the costs that we have to pay for. We never consider external costs. If you include external costs in the calculation, then the technology is actually superior in most fields to the traditional technologies which are being used, such as fossil or battery electric. So if you expect a shift of the external costs to become allocated, then it's going to be a very attractive solution. But already right now, there are fields where you actually have a cost-efficient solution using fuel cell technology and green hydrogen. But it cannot be applied anywhere where it's theoretically or technically possible. But there are fields where it makes commercial sense to switch to that technology.
Like which one?
Trucks in Switzerland. We can actually offer the fuel cell trucks in Switzerland at the same price TCO levels that diesel trucks are being run.
Is it more efficient they use the electric battery for the trucks?
The efficiency is a different topic. So if you talk about energy efficiency, battery has a higher energy efficiency. You can get 90% out of the energy out of a battery that you put in. You're gonna get 60% out of a fuel cell. So that energy efficiency is different. But I don't think that's actually a topic that anyone really cares about, as long as you have electricity or energy available. Because the worst energy efficiency is actually fossil fuels, and I never heard anyone saying, oh, I don't want to drive a diesel car because its energy efficiency is somewhere in the 20s or whatever. But in terms of commercial efficiency, it is more sustainable. It is more efficient to have fuel cell trucks than it is to have battery electric trucks. Simply for the fact that the range that you can achieve with a fuel cell truck is much wider than the one you can achieve with a battery electric truck.
Yes.
And the payload. The payload is usually the restrictive factor on the trucks. And if you can only have a quarter of the payload on a battery electric truck, that means you actually need to drive 4 times the distance to move the same amount of kilograms. And therefore, for the heavy duty trucks, I personally don't see a battery being able to be competitive in the large scale. There might be small routes, inner city routes that you can achieve with battery electric, but the longer the distance, the more energy you need in a truck, the less is the chances that you're going to use a battery electric truck.
So today, most of the automakers make an electric car, or even a few models of an electric car. I recently bought an electric car. I really much enjoy it, and I do agree that one of the problems is the range. So for us, it's a locally used car with no long distance, and it's very efficient. Really enjoy it. Let's imagine, in theory, everyone has an electric car, an electric battery. The question is, do we have enough national grid to cover the demand to charge all these vehicles on electric battery?
Yeah, great question, because it's a thought that few people actually have. Battery electric solutions, very easy to implement. You plug it in and you have electricity.
Yeah, it's like a phone. I come home, I
exactly.
plug it in, it's charging like an iPhone.
It's plug and play, you know,
Yeah.
but it's very difficult to scale it up because of the grid capacity and actually the power capacity. So to give you an example, and I think Germany is very representative on this matter. Germany has roughly 45 million passenger cars on the road. Germany uses somewhere north of 500 terawatt hours of electricity in a year. That means, in average, they need to have a power production of roughly 60 gigawatt. Because when you source energy from the grid, you need to provide the energy back to the grid, otherwise it becomes unstable. So this 60 gigawatt of power production capacity, that equals roughly 450,000 cars, passenger cars. So about 1% of the total cars which are on the German roads. So what I want to say is, if you want to plug in 450,000 cars into the grid at the same time of the day, you're going to need to double the power production capacity, because you need about 60 gigawatt for those 450 cars, and you need about 60 gigawatt for all the rest of Germany of electricity, in average. So I think it's a substantial problem, the grid. I think there's going to be new solutions. We already see solutions in Norway that you have different payment schemes, that you're going to pay less grid costs if they can cut you off at any time. And that's a way how you can stabilize the grid. And I think, in short, no, the grid right now does not provide a sufficient amount of capacity to to let everyone move to battery electric.
So that's why probably they don't really compete as solutions, because everyone's question here is which solution, hydrogen or an electric battery for mobility, will win over time, or
Yeah.
there is a symbiosis for both applications.
Yeah, I don't think that one technology is superior to the other. Obviously, we only focus on green hydrogen and fuel cell technology, and we don't care that much about battery. But the technology that you're going to be using is defined by an optimization process that you make. If you use your car for just small distances and going to work 10 kilometers and plug it in at home and plug it in at work, you're going to be fine with a battery electric car. But if you use a car and maybe go to the other end of Switzerland and back in the evening, it's going to be very difficult to plan your trips, and you're probably better off with a fuel cell car. So in Switzerland there has been a study published by ENPA, and ENPA says that 70% of the emissions from passenger cars are being produced by 30% of the cars. That's not because the cars are dirtier, that's just because those are the cars that drive more. Those are the cars of company representatives who drive around all day long. So that means if you have one of these cars, you're not likely going to be using a battery electric solution, because you would have to organize every day your trips in a very detailed manner. And
to make sure under pressure that
exactly. So you're better off with a fuel cell car, where you have a range of 600 kilometers, and you can refuel it within 3 minutes. That's going to be your solution. But I think if you drive into the city 10 kilometers, then you most likely. So if you belong to those 70% who only produce 30% of all the emissions, you're most likely going to be fine with a battery electric truck. So I think it's both technology. There's room for both technologies. Absolutely.
Well, the bottom line, as you said, that there is not yet enough capacity even to cover all the electric battery vehicles. So there's lots of room for evolvement and using other technologies, because we're all on this road of sustainability to preserve the planet. So it's a big mission of the company as well.
Yeah, it is, but it's a very rewarding mission. I think if you have a goal which is greater than you are yourselves and your team, it's nice to try. I would have not wished to be in a different space than what we have, although it proves to be challenging constantly. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for coming to the studio and for answering our questions that I think everyone has on their mind about the energy and mobility.
Thank you very much, Helena, for having me here.
Thank you everyone for watching our episode, and stay tuned to our next interview, actually with the expert of the World Economic Forum, Roberto Bocca, who is going to tell us more about the energy sector and how we're all working towards sustainability as a global mission. Thank you. Bye-bye.